This is the meeting of the Finance and Administration Committee on Monday, May 8th at 2 p.m. And all members are present. The time is 2 p.m. So we are called to order. Roll call, please.
Director Edwards?
Here.
Director Eisenhardt?
Here.
Chair Anderson?
Here.
All committee members are present.
Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
Yes. We seem to still not be getting an update yet on the reclamation costs on the project. It was on the agenda from the last meeting to add it onto the agenda this meeting, and it's
not here.
Still not here. Sort of like waiting for Godot to get there. Are we waiting? Is it because Dave's not here today, or
I don't know.
Sorry, Director, is that the rehab project for the Sleepy Hollow?
I believe it's Sleepy Hollow. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's item number 10. We do have a verbal report on that.
There it is, 10.
Oh, there it is. Why did I not see it before?
Thank you.
Thank you. That's great. I think the problem was that there's no attachment on it. There's just going to be
It's a verbal.
a verbal. Okay,
Yeah.
understood. That's why I missed it. Thank you.
So do we have any public present?
No, Chair Anderson, but I just wanted to acknowledge the minutes that were distributed.
Yes.
So a revised set as well as a red line set have been distributed for your review.
Thank you very much. I did have a chance to take a look at them. So there's no members of the public.
Correct.
Thank
Let
you.
me confirm that.
There is
Thank you.
somebody that raised hand, Sarah. It's phone number ending with 754.
Is that, so we have somebody who's interested in making a comment? There's their telephone. Yep.
Yeah, there is a raised hand.
Mm-hmm.
Hi. Hello?
Hello.
Am I
Let's talk-
unmuted then? I think so.
Yes, can you, if you would like to state your name for the record, please?
Sure. Wasn't necessarily intending to talk, but when you said there weren't members of the public, I wanted to make sure that I was visible. My name's John Tilley, and I am a member of the public. But given the opportunity to speak, I would ask that the Finance Committee take up an issue that I've written to the board about in general before the last board meeting. And that would be for one of the people, not the entire committee, to take the charge of presenting to the public the potential full cost of a failed effort through a bench trial of Measure J. I think it's really, really important that a balanced approach be taken to informing the public. I truly believe personally that the Public Water Now view is what is being expressed by the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District, but I think the district as a public agency has a necessity of presenting a balanced view, and it should more completely demonstrate to the public and expose to the public the financial risks that are involved with Measure J. It simply is not being done, and it should be done, so that the public has a balanced understanding of how Measure J could impact them. Thank you for letting me speak very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Tilley. So our first item is the adoption of the April 10th, 23 committee meeting minutes, and we have received those revised minutes. Does anybody have any comment or correction?
My only comment is they're just form, not substance. I'd move to adopt them as amended with the red lines.
Second it.
Can we have a vote?
Approval?
Aye.
Yes. Yes.
Since everyone is present and this is not a remote meeting, you may have a roll call vote on anything you want, but you can also have a voice vote.
Okay. Thank you.
It's at your pleasure.
Thank you. The second item on our list is to consider approval of the expenditure of funds for the additional functionality of the, is it Acela database. And you are speaking about Stephanie.
Yeah. Your improvements do in the report.
It's Stephanie.
Talk to the mic.
If I may
Let's put you on the
yes.
record so everybody can hear you.
Okay, so as our Acela database launched in 2018, and we needed some functionality improvements to that database since the launch. There's some things we wanted to add to it that were identified. So we've been working on that the last few months, and we did identify another portion of work that needs to be done, which is to grab these PDFs that were living in our previous database, Zone 24/7, and basically convert them into a way that they're now visible in the Acela database.
Thank you.
I have a question. Were you about to ask a question? Did I interrupt you? Real quick, how far back? So we know that what's available now goes back to 2018. How far back are some of these other PDFs?
Back to the origination of the district.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if it matters, but I think there's a typo on the action item. It refers to 27/7 instead of 24/7 to the.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
Which one is it? 24/7 or 27/7?
Zone 24/7.
Thank you.
The only other question I had is how long do you think this will take?
It should be done within a month's time.
1 month.
Yeah.
Yeah, quick.
I didn't see y'all put any contingencies on it, so this is the amount. And I was looking at that first line, changes or anything, they might say they don't want to do it or whatever, so this is going to be in stone. Another question, how come y'all contracts does not go through a contract lady upstairs?
I'm not sure of the answer to that.
Okay, because I think every contract or whatever should run through her, and so we know if everything's all right. 'Cause I seen
Director,
that-
let me add to that. This is basically an amendment to an existing contract. We do have about a $50,000 or $60,000 contract with the seller. They are doing the project, so this basically came as an amendment to that. So we do have an existing contract with the seller, and that went through the normal processing channel.
Okay, and this money is in the budget.
Correct.
Okay, so at the end of the year, we had to, okay, I'm fine with that. Okay, that's all my questions.
Okay, thank you.
I just had a comment. This is great. I mean, to get it all up and accessible in a month's time, going back to the dawn of time is nice.
It's a
I think the
huge-
public will appreciate, I mean, not, folks coming in trying to maybe, I mean, just, so the nature of the data, I guess, is, just so I'm clear, what are we finding 5-10 years ago on a particular property?
Well, so the file will have PDFs of inspection reports, water permits, rebates through the course of history of that property that we've been to. So it could be, if it's sold in 85 and then 95, so it all varies, but it's all of that
I
history.
think it's great.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
I'm thrilled.
It's a huge, huge job. Thank you. No more questions? Okay, let's have a vote. Motion. Thank you.
We'll move to approve item number 2, expenditure of funds for additional functionality improvements for the Acela database.
Now second it, but ask the public if they have any comments on the item.
Anybody in the public have any comments? Thank you. Let's do this by voice. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No opposition. Thank you so much. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Landscaping. This item is about landscaping up in, looks like mostly Sleepy Hollow. Did I read that wrong?
No,
This is, so,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Handling this remotely from my office upstairs. The Santa Margarita site located on General Jim Moore Boulevard in Seaside has undergone its last major expansion, although I believe we will be ripping into the driveway again. The weeds there have gotten out of control. As you drive by the facility, you can see some large above ground pipes. There are instruments and chemical injectors going in there. And the weeds prohibit the operators from really being able to access the equipment they need to. Additionally, the gate gets stuck because the weeds grow in front of the security eye, so it thinks somebody's standing there. And lastly, we expanded the backflush basin back in 2018, and the seeds that have blown in are quickly reaching the very large bush, if not tree stage, and we need to get those taken out. So I issued an RFQ, reached out to 6 local companies requesting a quote. We did tours, I believe, with 4 or 5 of those companies, and Radiant Landscaping submitted, they were the only ones to submit a quote, and the pricing seemed very reasonable with them. We talked with all our visitors about monthly versus quarterly, and took them all on a tour about what would be included and what would be best to move to an annual basis, so it would be more affordable for us. So the amount they quoted for 13 monthly visits. And then I want 2 annual visits. The annual visits are when they go into the basin to pull out those large bushes. We'll do it once in June, then we'll do it once again the following June, and we'll have a good idea on what we'd be looking at for an annual contract versus once every 5 years, we're going in and pulling out large brush. Again, the amount they quoted was $10,455 for that. The amount is budgeted. It is currently budgeted under ASR work for capital improvement. Because this is maintenance, we're going to transfer it to the maintenance side of that budget and get reimbursed by county. Are there any questions?
I do. I have a quick question. On page 19, this is the Exhibit A scope of work. Let me know when you're there, Ms. Hamilton.
I am there.
You just have to forgive my ignorance. What's the pests that we're concerned about on the pest control for the annual? And in the follow-up is, my understanding is that a pest control or abatement on an annual basis is almost not worth it, from what I understand about certain types of pest abatement. So maybe you can help us understand it.
Well, pest abatement is new to me, so I'll work with the gardeners to understand what they recommend. We have mole holes, and that bothers me because if they get underneath some of the concrete foundations, it just, as an engineer, that makes me nervous. The other thing we have are rats that get in the gate control box. They've gotten in twice and broken it twice. The gate guy says to put mothballs in there, so we're going to try that. If it takes more than annual practices to deal with the moles and the rats, if it's okay, maybe I'll put in some contingency money in next year's budget if we need to call in an exterminator.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about rats, but I know with moles, the sonic, the solar powered sonic, no, they don't vibrate. They make a noise. It's just a sonic. It's a buzzing sound. I don't know if there are neighbors close by. They're not that loud, but how many acres are we talking about here?
Oh,
Do we
no,
have
and it's just the area in which, around the building that we just built up with some fill from the basin. We have those sonic vibrators in our yard. We still have moles at our house.
Yeah.
Super happy.
They're not perfect. Yeah, they're not perfect. Okay, I think that there's no way you're going to abate pests once a year. It's never going to happen. I don't think it's a good idea. Personally, I'm not an expert. I think if you're serious about it, it's got to be monthly, not annual. If that changes the quote, I hope not. But I just see that as, and if that item number 3, pest control, if that factors into the $1,300 charge, I know it's not that much money. That's wasted money. It's not going to do anything. But and I certainly am no expert on pest control. I just think it's wasted money. I think you have to be, if it's a problem, it's got to be every month. But other than that, you got to cut the weeds.
Yeah.
How was this advertised?
We didn't advertise because the amount was so small. Advertising now runs over $2,000. It would have increased our cost by 20%. So what I did is I reached out to all the folks at local jurisdictions and I did a Google search and sent email inquiries out, letting them know that we have this RFQ out.
Okay, and Cal-Am is paying for this?
If-
Or the district paying for it? Thought I read in that Cal-Am was paying for it.
Cal-Am ratepayers are reimbursing the cost through the operations and maintenance contract.
Oh, okay, so the money's coming from Cal-Am company?
The ratepayers, yes.
Ratepay. Yeah, okay. Just want to make it clear that the ratepayers paying to come out of Cal-Am, but we're paying for it. Okay, good job on this contract. Looked like it went through the contract person, so that's why I like to see, and she checking all the checks and dots, but I like to see her in these meetings sometime. If we got a contract, she'll be down here to respond to anything that we may have on it.
I'm curious do we ask the people that do the maintenance here at this building, the company?
I did not ask them directly. I'd have to look if I found them on Google.
Yeah, the maintenance that's done at the admin building, basically 2 different companies. One of them is a pest control. They do the pest control work. They do not do any of the landscaping. And then the landscaping is basically part of the common area maintenance. We don't have any control over that. That's the management company that hires the landscaping company, but they don't, they do their 2 different specific tasks. One of them is a pest control. One of them is just the weed abatements.
Well, I know that pest control, I agree with Director Eisenhardt, it's a big deal, and we have, I've had a lot of experience with pests at our place, and I know they get into equipment and they eat the wires, they chew on the wires, and I would ask whoever it is that you're talking to about doing the pest control, there's a pepper powder that you can put out for gophers and rats. We've had a lot of success with rats. So they walk on that, they get it on their feet, and maybe you could call it torture. I mean, it is pepper powder, and they leave. And ours were gone for about a year. Then they came back, and we just haven't put the pepper powder out. So that's our fault. But it really was very effective. And I don't know if you could put it in the mole holes as well, but just something to ask.
If I may, does the pepper powder work for moles as well?
Well, I don't know. I bought it for rats, so I didn't read on the package whether it was for all, but these rodents have it on their feet. And then they lick it and it burns and they don't like it. So we have gophers and we trap them, but we don't have moles. So, and the rats left. They left town. Probably went to the neighbor's house, but whatever.
We've
So-
got COVID cats and we can't get rid of our moles.
You could ask the people that work here or whatever with their experiences with the pepper, but it was kind of magic.
If I could add something quickly, there is monthly pest control at the Santa Margarita site that's done by Cal-Am, and it's because
Oh.
they have permits for treatment at the facility, so it's a requirement in their health permit. So there is monthly pest control already at that site.
Sounds like it's not working so well.
That that's not something I'm going to argue with, but I'm just saying there is.
Okay.
Yeah, my feeling on this action item is I'm happy to vote to approve it. I think, certainly get the contract. I just think that, if the pest control is a problem and we're wanting to be serious about it, we might just want to go with either a different professional to handle that aspect of it, and maybe this company will give you a small abatement on the annual 1,300 since they're not doing pest control. I feel like, I don't know if that prevents us from voting on it, but I mean, this is not a lot of money and we got to do it and we should do it now. But it does seem like,
Seems to me like we should talk to Cal-Am and let them know that it's not working.
well, that's the other thing.
I mean,
If we're already doing it,
They're
exactly.
supposed to be doing it and they have a monthly contract, then they need to know it's not working and they should up the game.
At their middle school site, they would call me because the moles had gotten so bad under the
Yeah.
distribution of a transformer.
So what would you propose, Maureen?
Support taking pest control out of this contract. And if there's a credit, I'll call the contractor right after this meeting, see if there's any price adjustment. Of course, there should be. And just take that to the board and I'll put money in for pest control if we need it. And Cal-Am says, oh no, we stopped doing that a long time ago. We're not going to restart it.
Well, or is there a way to knock on, I mean, it would be, doesn't seem efficient if the district is going to pay for pest control under a separate contract while Cal-Am and its ratepayers yet again are also paying for
Right.
pest control.
I would not do that. I'm a ratepayer. I don't want to pay for the same thing twice.
Right.
That would be in the situation where they say, oh, we stopped doing that and we're not going to restart it.
I see. Okay. All right. Well, maybe we can write a letter to somebody over there and saying, hey, apparently your pest control is not working so well. What gives? I'd like to make a motion unless there's more comment. I'm sorry, I didn't.
I
Yeah.
don't have any more.
No, my only comment is when this company gonna start?
I'm
So I can go out there and look at their work.
gonna hope to get them out there in June because I want to get those trees out of the basin while the soil's still moist.
So they should be ready for some board members to go out there in September.
Oh, I hope so. Yeah, they'll be coming by every month. So weed whack the front and sweep. and
What?
the gate work.
Okay.
Director Edwards and I are going to go out and have a picnic.
I'm just giving you a heads up. So I hope they good.
And if you want a picnic, Pure Water Monterey's the road.
I make a motion that with a small adjustment, we approve item 4, the contract for, item 3, thank you, for the Santa Margarita ASR groundskeeping. And the adjustment is simply to renegotiate out on the annual work, the pest abatement and mitigation, and otherwise approve.
I'll second it. Just check.
Sorry for forgetting. Is there anybody in the public who has their hand raised?
I see no raised hands, Chair Adams.
Thank you.
Unanimous approval.
Thank you, Maureen. Budget report.
Suresh, is that you?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Yeah, so this is item number 4, the adoption of treasurer's report for the month of March. We did write checks in the amount of $2,527, $501.98. We do have attached exhibits A, B, C, and D. A is the actual treasurer's report. B and C are the listing of the regular checks and the payroll checks. And then exhibit 4D is the unaudited financial statements for the month of March. Like looking at exhibit A, which is the treasurer's report, you can see we started the month with $24 million in the bank, 24.6. We closed the month with $23.7 million in the bank. It's quite normal. We have received our first installment in December, and then we go through January, February, March, writing checks. And then in April, we get the second installment. And so in April, you'll see the balance kind of like spike up again with the proceeds from the property tax and the water supply charge. And we also report the last column is the Pebble Beach Reclamation Project. We report on those as well. Those money gets collected from the water sales and gets transferred to court because they handle the operations and maintenance. Exhibit B, C, and D are attached as well. So if there's any questions on any of the check registers or the financial statement, I'll be happy to answer those questions.
The water supply charge, are we gonna start setting that aside in the next budget or?
Correct.
This-
That will be in the 23-24 budget. And Director Edwards, when we come to you end of this month for the budget workshop, we will have a lengthy discussion on that. And we will show you that we are expecting collection of the water supply charge, but then we're also setting it aside as well. But yeah, that's entirely for fiscal year 23-24.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm happy to report that we did get our collection from the county in April. It was actually April 24th or 25th. So we did get the second collection. They did raise a question, and then Council Laredo answered that question. So we were just kind of like wondering if they had any more questions or they were just going to transmit the proceeds. So they did transmit the proceeds, no issues there.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Did I get my contingency?
So I was interested in Exhibit 4D. I find that interesting to take a snapshot where we are now versus this time last year. You know, in my own business, I like doing that and seeing where things are going. And obviously, there's many of the expenses, most of them frankly went up between 8 and 30%. I would imagine some of that is we're all now back in the office full time, and there are some related expenses there. Nothing was terribly surprising, although I do point out that sometimes it went the other way. Our professional fees went down a little bit from this time last year. You never know. And then also, I did notice on the income side, maybe you could just help me understand it. So there was a big jump on investment income. If you look at 8 rows down at the top of Exhibit 4D, and I'm just wondering if that's just a change in interest rates, or is there some other reason?
Well, there's two reasons. The primary reason is the change in interest rate. We did see favorable interest rates spiking up early part of the fiscal year. And then there was also the market value of the assets as well. We do have to book that as well. It's part of the requirements now. So the market value of the assets basically had a huge shift. And so all of the investments gets recorded at the market value, and so that was not so favorable prior year. We
I
actually
see.
got some losses, but this year, those losses got reversed, but then the interest rate spiked up, and so we ended up getting some favorable rates.
And then last thing on the same little section there, I mean, for the members of the public, could you just let us know why the roughly $4 million increase on Pure Water Monterey between this amount, between this time last year and now, so the public
Yeah,
understands that that was a big jump, so.
Yeah, it was purely the rate increase. So the cost of water basically went up from like $2,600 or $2,700 to about $3,500.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that did go up a lot.
Yeah, it was, well, it got my attention.
I believe they mentioned it earlier. that
Yeah,
the
and
rate
that's a direct, and
went up.
that's a direct pass through. So the water sales numbers did go up, but then on the expense side, the cost of water also went up. So net wash to the financial statements is zero from the sales and purchase.
I had no further questions on it.
No,
None from you?
Excellent.
I have no additional questions or no questions beyond what you've asked. So
check
Take
with the
this out.
public for comment
take this
and
out to the public and see if anybody has their hand raised, please.
Chair Anderson, I see no raised hands.
move approval.
Thank you.
The treasury report.
A second? Have a vote? All those in favor? Say. Opposed? Say,
Decision unanimous.
it was. Okay, so third quarter financial activity report is item 5.
Yeah, directors, that's me again. So item number 5, this is the third quarter financial activity report for the fiscal year 22-23. Our quarter ended on March 31st, 2023. And so I have snapshot the revenues and expenses. I have detailed the both line items on the revenue side as well as the expense side, and the variances, and a little snippet of the explanation as to why there was a plus or minus. If there's any questions, I can answer that. Or if you want, I can go through the each line item. But this is what was expected when we compare the third quarter from 22-23 to third quarter 21-22. As Director Mark has pointed out, we look at the financial statements that direction as well. It's fairly normal way it is. There are some jumps like PWM water sales comparing from year to year did jump, and then some small changes in the interest rates and all that. But other than that, fairly normal way we are for the first quarter. For the third quarter of the fiscal year.
I'll jump in. This is excellent. It just makes it so much easier to read between the graphs and then your detailed bullets on the larger items, differentials. Like I said, that's what I do in my business. I'm a big fan of like in time snapshots because it gives you something to really gauge. Everything is context. It's all context, right? So, it's very helpful. And you make it very easy to digest. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's all a culmination of all the comments received from the board members, previously. And so we take any comments we receive and we try and make it even better. So going forward, if there are any comments, we'll be happy to get those and incorporate them into our reports.
No questions.
well, the only one that's higher in the year to date was the Pure Water Monterey water sales, which you just explained.
Yeah.
Cost went up. Thank you, Suresh. Appreciate it. And expenditures were just different. Any other questions? Take this out to the public.
Chair Anderson, I see no raised hands.
Thank you.
Is this an action item or
Yeah,
no?
you do not need it.
Okay.
Now received it.
It is an action
That
item.
will file it.
Okay. Yeah, it says action item. So it's just received. Thank you. Um, Third quarter fiscal year is item number 6.
Yes.
Suresh, you're up again.
Yeah, it's me again. Same period, third quarter of fiscal year 22-23. But this is the investment report. We are required by the investment policy that the board looks at every January. And part of the requirement of that investment policy is to report on all of the district investments every quarter. So this is the report for quarter ended March 31st, 2023. As you can see, we have about 40% of the district investment into a local agency investment fund. Bank of America, the money market and checking account, that's kind of like the operating account. That's got about 27%. And then the other bulk of the money is sitting in the multi-securities bank, and those are all staggered CDs. You can see the different expiration dates on those CDs and the investment rate of return on the right-hand side. We did have some old CDs that did not yield, but at that time when we bought those CDs, anything between 0.5 to about 1.25, 1.5 was great rate until about a year ago, when those rates were nothing compared to what we were getting the current rates. I mean, as you can see, some of the CDs that we bought are yielding about 5.5%, 5.45, 5.25. So the interest rate market has definitely switched. But all in all, the way when we stagger the CDs and invest it, it still turns out to be better than if we invested all our money in LAIF. When we were buying the CDs at 1%, LAIF was paying us about 0.25% at that time. So we do make that, educated guess in terms of, how the market's going to be. We don't have the crystal ball. We can't really see what the interest rate market is, but when we do see some good rates, we do try and capitalize on those. So that's how we stagger our CDs. It's all safe because they all are $250,000. We don't go anything beyond the FDIC insured amount, just so that we are the comfortable range as well. And then at the bottom of the report, you'll see we also have to report on the CORD, the wastewater reclamation project. So we report on those investments there as well. So pretty simple. If there's any question, I'll be happy to answer that.
No questions from me.
No questions for me, but it's nice to see those changes in that with return. Quite dramatic.
No, I just, I understand obviously the zero risk investment strategy. I believe me. It's a little disturbing that the overall, at least today, that might be different a year ago or 2 years from now, but it's always a little disturbing to see that the overall or average annual rate of return is we're essentially losing money based on inflation, but that's for the moment. I get it. So we just grin and bear it. It's the comment.
Yeah, it's always safety first.
Chair Anderson, there are no raised hands.
Second.
Aye.
Aye. Have any questions about
One question for me, all contracts over 25,000, are these all act or some don't, or what, are they all that you gotta keep repeating them or dormant that we shouldn't be putting on here or whatever. Suresh?
I'm sorry, Director Edward, I didn't hear the question. What was the question again?
5,000, are they all active? Or some of them not active?
The $25,000 contract?
Yes. Yes, so.
So all of the
Find out.
$25,000.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
What I'm trying to find out is all these contracts you got listed active?
They are active, correct.
Okay, that's what I want to know, because,
Yeah, they are all open contracts that we have. There may be no activities on those, but it hasn't been closed out yet.
okay. So essence, you can't go here and find out who we're gonna use and who we not, or who we should pay off and close it and, get this list down or what, you know,
Correct.
that, so that's what I want to find out. Should we do that or we should keep them all open?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time hearing you, Director Edwards. For some
Okay,
reason,
okay,
the net
well,
connection is not
yeah.
as-
Yeah, this is Thomas. Real quick, I just looked at this list for the first time in a while, and there are some that I can close out here that are done.
Okay, well, you tell us what I'm talking about, so you can give us a list and fill them in, you know, we need to cut down this list and get some of these people off of here, if we can. So, okay, that's all I had on that one.
Yeah, if the projects are closed, we can definitely get them off the list.
Well, let's do a little cleanup work. Make me feel proud.
Yeah, we'll do that.
All right, will do.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Actually, I have one for our council. Mr. Laredo.
Yes.
Exhibit 8-A. And you,
That's a different,
are we not on this one yet?
no, we weren't.
You know what, I sort of, in my mind, I grouped all the information.
But-
I apologize.
Well, it is kind of together. We don't have to vote on that one. You can questions and answers. So,
We can,
yeah, you can ask them.
I'm sorry. Charge ahead. But if you are on Exhibit 8A, and if we look at, you know, the most recent sort of actual and projected expenditures, it's the one that through March of 2023. I'm just wondering on the litigation front, these would be the last two items, sort of smack in the middle of the page, right?
2 items.
Yeah. One was the CEQA litigation. That's done.
Closed, yes.
It's done. So going back to, okay, so it's done. And then on the LAFCO, I mean, we're basically,
That is not included
wait,
as of this point. The LAPCO, we are in the record production. And we have hearing dates set in, I believe, in July.
August.
right, and that's for court.
August.
I mean, technically,
August.
and that's trial, right? So, and do we have a sense about how many days?
Oh, I think that would be the actual trial. Yeah, it'll be less than a day.
Okay,
It's
on paper.
submitted on briefing, and then, you know, our judges are very good about reading it and you know, having perspective. So it's just probably on be a morning, and no more than happy.
All right, so it just seems to me on the LAFCO, if you look at the contract approved amount, I mean, we seem to be on budget on that, even though it's way out in the late summer.
So because
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, it's like a pair of, how many briefs have been filed yet?
response.
But the moving briefs have been filed. Okay, that was it. That was my only question.
So on these items, the one above it, the CEQA one, that's closed, you say? And
No, the items that are labeled 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6,
No, the Measure J CEQA
That-
litigation.
that is closed.
Okay, so they could take that off and then we get that 59,000 something back? I mean, it's not. Yeah, but it comes off the budget. That's good.
Well, good majority of this work, you know, I don't mind keeping it on there, so, but put like closed on it.
Closed, yeah.
And sort of
Closed,
see
closed.
that we unspend it and everything, but that is close, you know.
Good to mark. Okay. Now we have the agenda for the upcoming board meeting.
No, there's item 9, which is a verbal report.
9? I don't,
It's a discussion item. It's just a verbal report, 9 and 10, and then 11 is the agenda.
Nine is the financial impact of the
Oh, right.
MPTA.
you,
This is what I missed as well because there was no attachment for it. So.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
Just as a status report, as we know, the Judge Panetta ruled in favor of MPTA and against the district. The district has sought a modification of the ruling. That is going to be heard by the judge on the 19th of this month. And the judge will have until the end of the month, I believe the 29th is when she loses jurisdiction to make a change. So if there's no action by her by then the ruling will stand. And if there is action, then it'll be whatever that new ruling is. But in terms of the financial impact, at the moment, it's prospective in nature. There was no request for an injunction. And so if the district does have an adverse ruling and does choose to appeal, then the matter should be stayed pending an appeal, and therefore will not have a direct impact on this next budget.
What was the date by which you have to get a response? Or would stay?
There has been a response, but the judge has until the 29th
Until the
to
29th.
either vacate
Yeah.
or amend the order.
Okay, that's what I was,
And then at that point, the local Superior Court loses jurisdiction to do so.
75 days.
Yeah.
thank you.
I remember when it used to be 60.
Suresh, did you have something more on that you wanted to?
No, I did make my comments that we will address the impact of the water supply charge at the budget discussion meeting in end of the month.
Okay, now, report from Thomas.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what I wanted to
Number
hear.
10.
I've been holding my breath the whole meeting. No pressure.
Updating largely from Larry Hansen, who is project manager of the upgrade at Sleepy Hollow. And back in March 20th, agreed to $100,000 contingency. Very nice of you at that time. We were kind of in the middle of winter. We were still kind of getting towards the end of the project, but not quite sure what we were going to run into. And Larry was nervous that we were going to run into the cap limit on the project and then have some complications running into the cap while we had a contractor out there. So next slide, please. So the good news is, here's the rearing channel, some of the work. Would like to include pictures. The rearing channel had a really old liner. It was a big project. We poured concrete in the bottom after the old liner was removed because it was sitting on native material. There was some unforeseen circumstances. And you can see here, this is kind of the middle of this stage of the project in the middle of between the rainstorms. Next slide, please. So the good news is the project is pretty much wrapping up. And we didn't have to dive into that contingency. A lot happened in the last couple of weeks of the project and things kind of started wrapping up nicely. You can see the new liner there and the gravel placement. So we're still working out there and wrapping up a few little things. Next slide, please.
You got good weather for it now.
Yeah, finally. And so you can see here that the board authorized $839,500 for the work, including that $100,000 contingency. Larry has authorized $747,033 of work out there. So this brings us to $92,467 remaining of the 100,000. So I spoke with Larry this morning. He thinks we may use a little bit more of that, but the bulk of the work is done for the project. So this would be money that would be coming back into basically the district's budget for future expenditures. So.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great news.
Well, when is Larry gonna have it completed? I like to see some completed.
Yeah.
And close it up.
There's a punch list. Larry calls it a punch list. Some of those are original items that the contractor needs to finish. We're actually going to test the facility and the liner. Some of the pumps were damaged during the flood, so those are being repaired. I think you guys remember, you saw some of that damage to the RAS building when the water came up through the floor drain. So those pumps were brought to a pump specialist in Salinas who's evaluating them and looking at them. So once those get installed, we're gonna test the facility. There's actually a 1-year warranty bond on all the work that the contractor does. So we just want to make sure that everything is working and there's no leaks and no surprises before we kind of cut the contractor loose and tell him he's done a good job and pat him on the back.
So when can I make a visit?
Anytime.
Anytime. You ain't ready yet. You see.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what you want to see. If you want to see the water flowing, then let me tell you.
I want to swim some laps in there.
Yeah.
I want to see the place completed.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah.
So how it looks.
Okay.
You know, and I really like to get out there like you showing photos like that and see how they progressing, and then I want to see the finished progress.
Yes.
So
we'll bring you out there. Let me check in with Larry and see what he thinks will be running.
Yeah, I want to come see it.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like interesting to me.
Yeah, it is. It's a great place to visit.
well, I want to make sure Larry, we can get that money back before Larry decides to spend it.
Yeah, I know.
So let's get it closed up.
Yeah, we got to
there.
keep track of him.
Right.
I have a question, just for my own interest. What is the material of the liner? Is it partly fiberglass, plastic?
It's kind of like a rubberized product. I don't know the
Rubberized.
exact. Yeah,
Okay.
it's kind of like a flexible. It's almost like a thin car tire or a tube in a bicycle. Yeah.
Much more sturdy than plastics.
Yeah, and the good thing is that if you have a concrete wall that's rough, the fish can get injured. So the liner kind of serves a dual purpose. It's kind of a slippery material that you're not going to get as much abrasion on the fins, and so.
Was the previous one the same stuff?
It's a slightly different composition. The stuff before was discontinued.
Well, we know how long tires last. So
Yeah. So anyway, think of a little bit thicker than a bicycle tube would probably be the best way to explain it.
Well, that was great news. Thanks for delivering that great news.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah. Can they show those slides and give us an update, the full board, or update on how that's going out there?
Yeah, would you like that at the board meeting as a?
Either Dave or you or someone
Okay,
can slip it all in, so the board members can know that 100,000 has been inched down a little bit, but there's some there, and.
Yeah, let's do that. I'll talk with Dave and see how he wants to handle it.
Yeah.
He might just throw it in with his GM report.
Yeah.
That might be the cleanest way to do it.
Invite board members to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to, to find out how y'all doing out there and everything, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
I mean, this is a big deal. I mean, that's been down for,
Yeah, I mean, it was a big upgrade. I mean, the original facility was built in 1996, and that's why the liner really had to be replaced. It'd been there for a long time and was leaking in many
well, it was a
different
big
spots.
sure we said
Yeah.
at the end, but I do
Yeah.
think it's worth getting.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah,
Okay.
great.
Right.
Good, that's good to hear.
So if we can maybe, I don't know, how does that work, Sarah? I mean, do you? Yeah, I'm thinking.
Oh, for a tour?
Oh, just to get it on the.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
See it, you know.
To Joel, get on
Okay.
to the agenda.
Yes.
And then for the tour itself, we can do as a poll as to how many board members are interested.
Right.
If it's less than a quorum, then you schedule it. If it's a quorum, then you
Oh,
schedule it as a meeting.
You know, fine.
It just depends on what people's schedules are, and sometimes you have less than a quorum and.
Yeah, and
sometimes
we're
you-
flexible, you know,
secret, I mean,
if a couple people want to go out one day and then just one other person wants to go another day, we can do that, no problem.
Either way, yeah, I think it's good to, because we're getting close to the end. I mean, you think ETC is when?
Well, I mean, I think we should have, be able to be running water through it within a month, I believe.
Within a month?
Or, you know, I see the pressure's off right now because the river's flowing.
Yeah.
If we were in a dry year and we were rescuing fish, it would be like emergency go time. But now that the river's flowing, there's plenty of water for fish, then I don't really want to call the people at the dealing with the pumps and like make them rush. And so we want to get it.
I thought it was only one. How many pumps got the?
No, there's two, and there's always two pumps in case one fails. And
they
so,
both got damaged.
yeah, they both got damaged.
Okay.
And so, but yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you very, very much. Good news all around.
You too.
Thank
you. So the only thing left is to review the draft of the board meeting.
Yeah, so starting off with the special and regular meeting of the Board of Directors for May 15th. We have the consent calendar. Everything that you approved at today's Finance and Admin Committee meeting today is reflected here on the consent calendar, with the exception of the meeting minutes from April 3rd and April 17th. Followed by that, we do have the General Manager's Report. We have 8 and 9, and then number 10, it's an overview of the FEMA Cal Office of Emergency Services reimbursement process and outcomes. So you will hear that from Simona Mossbacher at that meeting. And at the last Public Outreach Committee meeting, there was some ideas floating around about what to do with the current website. So if Dave hasn't notified you yet, I want this committee to be aware that we will be soliciting input from board members about the current website. So just make sure that before that meeting, you do your homework and let us staff members know what could be improved upon, what modifications should be done to the site, or what would you like displayed on that site. We have a report from District Council. Mr. Laredo, I don't know if you want to speak to the matter that to any closed session matters that might be added to this meeting agenda.
Not at this point. That hasn't come through the chair, vice chair.
Got it. And then we do have one public hearing item, and that's to receive and confirm the water supply forecasts from those 2 periods that are listed there. And then we have our customary informational items / staff reports. And then at the end of the month, Suresh will bring to the board the proposed fiscal year 2023-24 budget and resolution. And then I will be adding to the May 15th agenda, the item that Thomas was just speaking on not too long ago on Sleepy Hollow.
And Joel and
Yes.
directors as well, there will be another item at the May 25th budget workshop meeting. The second item will be the discussion of the loan payoff for Mechanics Bank. It will actually be a action item that will authorize us to go ahead and pay off that loan balance, but we need a formal action for that.
And that wraps up the 2 meeting agendas. Do any
I have,
members have any questions or comments?
I have a 2-letter comment. It's on item
Yes.
11. It should be request input on the district website, not of it.
Got it.
Thank you.
Joel, I
Let's see.
didn't realize that we are in the website front and center this way. Is there, how did that happen? I mean, do we have a, like a new website company that's going to come in and do the revamp, or?
So we've been using WordPress for a number of years now. And we recently hired a public outreach consultant that has done a number of projects. And one of the projects that he wants to tackle is to either work with the existing WordPress platform and then enhance it or make it visually pleasing. And the other part of it is so that way, whatever message that we're communicating out there to the public grabs their attention. Either we have 2 options, either use the current WordPress platform or go out and see what's out there. There are a number of website platforms to include Civic Plus, Granicus, Streamline, and these are all other companies or website platforms that we might be exploring, if not now, then maybe in the future.
All right, and then I had a couple little questions. So, and forgive me, everybody, because I'm still new here. Why are some matters on the consent calendar, I'm talking about non-action items, versus on the informational reports? What gets from one to the other? In other words, for example, item 16 is what we have now reviewed, which was contracts over 25,000. And I really appreciated your comments, Alvin, on getting them cleaned up if they're not active. Why wouldn't that be on the consent calendar? I feel like it doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason why some things are on the consent calendar and some are on the informational. I'm struggling with that.
If I may, the consent calendar requires an action by the board to push it forward, to approve it, or to ratify it in some fashion.
So all
information items are more passive.
Ah.
Providing you information, but you don't have to receive it, it's there.
I see.
No vote.
So,
and then there is one exception if there's some other rule or law or internal requirement set by ordinance that something come to you for your awareness. And then that would have to be there as well.
Okay, so since it's an action item, we probably need to do something with the consent calendar item number. My vision is very poor. I apologize. Wow, really?
So what's the topic about?
The landscaping.
The landscaping one. So that matter, if I understood the committee correctly, that's something that we could either take on as a discussion item or could be reported out during the general manager's report.
I mean, I'm fine with it being a consent item, but because we've all.
But it is item number 7.
It's just that I think you need to fix it if you make it a consent item, that because we altered, remember we voted to renegotiate it down, get it without the pest control.
The staff report.
Yes, the staff report will get modified from today's discussion.
I
It'll
see.
be presented in the board packet.
I'm just overthinking it.
So what will be
So-
presented on consent is the recommendation as presented.
So generally, if there's any kind of different action or discussion or request from the board, from the committee, then it'll get incorporated into the report that goes to the full board.
Perhaps pulled.
You know, the other thing to sort of help for the general meeting that might be helpful on this one item, I mean, it's a very small item, I realize that, but if there is a pest problem and if there's already an existing contract that Cal-Am has, is that something we can see?
I don't know, if Callahan has the contract, we may not have the contract. I don't know.
Probably not.
Yeah,
We have information that they are spending money to deal with it. It'd be great to put that, if there's something we have in writing, maybe we don't.
You first mentioned it, Cal, I'm going to answer that question, you know, so.
Yeah, it's just that we didn't want to double spend, obviously, that was the reason why we.
Jonathan, on the conversation. He was on the meeting earlier. He probably going to report back.
Okay, it's a small item, I know it's not a lot of money, maybe we should pull it. from consent calendar, just to make that point.
but may I suggest, take a look at what the recommendation is and how it's written up on the consent calendar, and then if you still feel it doesn't adequately address that.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
Somebody was gonna ask Caroline about what was getting done. Got a whole lot of rats and stuff, and maybe the work's not getting done.
Okay, oh, you're right, so we'll wait to see the actual final version of the staff report. I'm overthinking it, sorry, guys.
It's all right. You're doing what you're supposed to do on this committee. That's good.
Thank you, everybody.
Said that.
Thank you,
My
everyone.
speaker on, we can adjourn.